Oh, live, back in action, attacking your speakers from the field to the bleachers. This is the Power 32 podcast, along with the smart ass Mr. Kenny Cope, Mr. Primetime, Mr. David Dale is in the house, and I'm the sports prophet Jason Fearman. We are happy to be here for another great power hour of the Power 32 podcast, ready to roll. We got a lot to do today. We got NFL offseason, obviously, and the combine is going on right now, free agency, trades we're going to go over. Looking forward to the draft. So there's a lot of fun stuff to do today. We want you guys to play along. It's going to be a real good time. But I got to say what's up to my people first. What's going on, Kenny?
I'm good, man. Long week. I just got here in time. It doesn't matter when we start. I'm going to get here 10 minutes before. I don't know what's going on. I'm just on a bad timeline, I think. But I'm here. There you go.
You're here, man. You made it. And my man, Mr. Primetime 313, representing the 313. What's going on? We got David on a bit of a delay right now, but we'll work through it. It's all right.
Yeah, it's nothing new.
We good? Yeah.
Can hear you.
You guys having storms on there in Florida?
I don't know what it is. Can't decide whose connection it is, but you know what? We're going to Power 32 podcast through it. That's what we're going to do.
There you go.
Rocking and rolling. If one of us goes out, then the rest of us will keep talking, so don't worry about it. But like I said, a lot of off-season stuff to get to right now. If we freeze up, we apologize, but we're ready to have some fun, play a little music for you, get this thing going. It's all NFL. We want your comments. We want to hear it, whether it's now or it's after the show during the podcast. We love to hear it. So let's get it going. Let's dive right into it. But a few things of note right off the bat. So Abdul Carter was said to be probably the number one pick going to the Titans, which I don't necessarily agree with. That's another story. We'll get into that a little bit. But he doesn't need foot surgery. It's not necessary. The doctors say that they should not do it. It's not even like, oh, you can get away with it. They're actually saying, no, not going to happen. No foot surgery. So I guess that doesn't really hurt his draft stock, Kenny, as we wait for Mr. Primetime to get in here, as he's totally frozen with a smiling face right now. I love it. But Kenny, Abdul Carter, again, people think he's going number one. Do you think that this foot issue is going to cause a problem for him in the draft?
I think he's being called the next Myles Garrett, so I don't think it's going to affect him too much, at least not right away. I don't think a team is going to pass up on that kind of generational talent because of an injury. He's a young man, so he should be able to bounce back. Younger kids are made of rubber until a certain point. Yeah. I'd say around 30,
Yeah.
And so
I hear him compared to Micah Parsons, obviously, because of the Penn State. They wear the number 11. They both of them, obviously. So, there's that comparison there. But, yeah, he could be the number one pick. And hoping Mr. Primetime, I know you hear us right now, but we got you frozen on the screen. Are you there, David?
I don't see Primetime on my screen here, but I see him on the show.
All right, he may have to log back in. He may have to log back in. But we got McNiner over here. What's happening? Always saying David. We appreciate that, as my dog is going crazy over here. So Primetime is a little locked up right now, but we'll get him in there. So we want to have some fun with these trade talks we're going to get into in a little bit. But the scouting combine is on. The defensive linemen and linebackers are there, Kenny. So if you like watching guys run around in fucking tights and shit like that, then I guess go ahead and watch the NFL Network.
Well, David McNiner, who's in the chat, he calls it the Underwear Olympics. So
that's what it is. It's ridiculous.
And listen, Jaden Daniels didn't throw last year. I don't think C.J. Stroud threw. There's a lot of people who don't do that. If I'm your agent and you're already drafted, I'm not going to have you go out there either and risk hurting yourself just to prove that you can run in a straight line or in circles or whatever. That shit is your talent on that day. Doesn't mean that's going to be you every day. And you could hurt yourself. I'm not a fan.
It can hurt. It can hurt people, and you know what? It does hurt certain people, but it does help certain people. Like there are those certain players who really need this. Now, I don't know every college player's name, so I'm not going to start spitting it out. But if you're a linebacker who's a fringe first or second round pick, you're going to want to get your ass in there and bust it out on the combine, right? So
no doubt.
We're going to get Primetime back in here right now, see if everything's working out on the technical side.
Yeah, look, if they're not sold on you, you need to go out and prove yourself on the combine, then that will help you. But if you're someone who's already in the bag going 1, 2, or 3, then I wouldn't risk it.
Well, now what a lot of guys do is they have the pro days. That's what they do. Like, they'll have to go to their college and they'll work out in front of a bunch of scouts. That's like, again, Abdul Carter. That's what he's doing. So that seems to be the way. What's Bernard saying? Put the players in full game gear, cleats and grass, and then they would have more respect for it.
Sure.
I mean, listen, again, the game tape is what you really look at, Kenny, more than anything. But the
Agreed.
combine is the combine. I just think it's totally overhyped. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, I'm someone, this is very different. I'm not a super elite athlete like I would say like a lot of these guys are. But I don't take tests well. Like, I'm not a good test taker. I'm a smart guy, but when you go take the test, that's just not what I do. Like, that will make me look bad. And one little slip, one little roll of the ankle, one little slip, and now you look bad. And I know you get multiple tries, but once you turn an ankle on your first run, what are you going to do the rest of the day? You're going to try and push it harder because now you don't want to do as bad as it looks, right? And so you want to push it, and you can hurt yourself even more. I'm not a fan of that. But like you said, if you need to be sold, like you need a little more like ammo for you to be like looked at because people aren't sold on you, then I think you got to go for the combine.
Listen, man, there's the difference between being smart and football smart. I played with guys who are the dumbest people in school and even common sense wise, but you put them on the football field and they're a fucking marvel.
And they're an engine.
There's a difference. There's a big difference. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to name names right now, but I got people in my head that I'm thinking of like.
And they do that because you're going to have to take the Wonderlic test at some point, and that's
right.
Tell people whether you're a garbage man or whether you're an engineer, and that's not fun. And it's one day of testing, and it may matter, and of course it's pretty accurate. But you don't want to be called a garbage man one day when you have a bad day.
It's just who gives a shit, man. It's really a joke. I mean, it's out of control. I wish Prime Time was in here for this. This is pissing me off right now because I have that little segment for Prime Time, whether it's Prime Time or time.
We got some time though. We'll get them in here.
Of course.
You know what? It's 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock is a busy time. Maybe like the internet's just getting rushed right now.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, he's not working from his computer like he normally would be. He's working from his phone. So I think that might be the issue. So I have to just remove him from the screen for the moment and hopefully.
If he's not today, he'll be back. So
he'll be back. Yeah, it's all good. We'll have him in here. So we won't do too much of that, but we're still going to get into it. So you heard Travis Kelce is coming back. I don't know if that's a Taylor Swift influence or not. Like, get back out there and fucking show the world that you're a champion. You're my man. Otherwise, I'm not going to fucking marry you.
Oh man, she's putting the limits on him already. How about
putting
that?
It on him, man. She's putting it on. Get out there, Travis.
I feel like it got to him that people were like, yo, he sucks. He gave up. He quit already. He's getting married. He wants to leave and go jet set around the world with his beautiful 89-pound girlfriend. But maybe Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes were like, bro, we should have won that game. We should have won that Super Bowl, or at least not get blown out like that. And I think they got something to prove now, and that could be what it is.
That game was such a blowout. That was a horrible, boring Super Bowl to watch. God, that was awful, man. It killed me.
But it was still satisfying a little bit.
It was satisfying that the Chiefs lost. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that dynasty is going to have to rest. I mean, it still technically is one. I mean, if you're going to the Super Bowl every year, you're a fucking dynasty. Except if you lose 4 in a row like the Buffalo Bills, then, you're not really a dynasty that people want to talk about too much.
Right, you're not a dynasty, but I also don't want to kick you out of bed. Damn.
Oh, man, shit.
4 Super Bowls, and, a lot of those were blamed on Norwood, on the kicker. I'm not, so it's a lot going on. Bruce Smith, Jim Kelly.
The Chiefs had major problems on offensive line. That was a big reason why they lost the Super Bowl, not to mention the fact that Philly had a great defensive line. So what the Chiefs did was a smart move today, and they franchise tagged Trey Smith, their offensive guard.
Oh, so they're not going to let him go. I had a whole thing.
No, they're not letting him go, but they need help at tackles. So whether it's in the draft or if they're going to, I don't know. Look, when you have a good left or right tackle in the NFL, you don't give it up. Like, you just don't trade away those pieces.
Hard enough to find. To find.
Joe Thuney, I mean, are they going to experiment with him back at left tackle? I mean, it didn't seem to really work out that well. They're going to have to figure something out, the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I don't like to pat myself on the back, even though no one else will. I'm going to do it a little bit because I'm not always right. And sometimes I hit. In the beginning of the year, I went off on the whole Wanya Morris getting arrested. For whatever reason, we don't have to get into the reason he got arrested, but he got arrested. I knew it would be a problem. I talked about it. Nobody thought it was a big deal. And how did they lose? Wanya Morris is their left tackle. They brought in Kingsley Sumatea to be that guy. He also didn't develop in time. And that's how they lost the damn
Look
Super
at
Bowl,
you.
moving Tooney to left tackle, leaving a Colangelo or whatever his name is, and it left him in left guard, and that was a huge problem for them.
Creed Humphrey, I think you're talking about.
Creed Humphrey I thought he was at center. But anyways, whoever was taking over for where Tooney was a problem.
Yeah, man.
And it really was.
Now look
And you
at
don't
you
want to
being
have
all
that problem
prophetic.
facing Philly, you know?
Look at you being all prophetic. I love it. How about that? Prime time over here, chiming in over here. He is not going on. We don't know what's going on with the connection.
Yeah, well, we can
Dude.
still read your comments, but so please, you know.
Yeah,
least-
but I'd rather have him in. It's unfortunate, but you know what? The show must go on. We have to
Listen, I
continue.
thought it would be me, so I'm glad that at least two of us are here.
Well, again, fucking technology is supposed to be like killing it for us today, but I don't really know. So let's try to do it again. Prime
Yeah.
time.
There he is.
All right. I think we got a connection now. I think we're in.
I think you know what happened is that I had my phone on Wi-Fi, and I got a lot of Wi-Fi going on in my house. So last week I didn't have any issues because I had it on my just like on the cellular, like the data stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm good
All
now.
All
I'm
right,
good
yeah,
now.
You're coming through all clear, man. You are good to go, and that's perfect because you are just in time for Who Says No. We got some trades to go through. They're trades that you may not have thought of. They're trades that you may have thought of, you know, in the back of your head. But I got a few we're going to throw out. Kenny, prime time. Let's do this shit. I'm going to start out.
Here, ask prime time first while he's here.
What's that?
Get prime time first while he's here.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, no kidding. Right before he passes out again. Now, I got a million of them. I don't really know where to start. But, you know, Myles Garrett has been a hot name. I'll get to him in a minute. But I'm going to give you one that you got to think about a little bit. How about Minnesota and Atlanta making a trade, ironically, you know, as Kirk Cousins went over there, and maybe you should go back at this point. But who says no? Jordan Addison giving Atlanta wide receiver help, and Minnesota getting Bijan Robinson because they need a running back. Who says no to that trade?
I think I would, simply because if I'm Minnesota, I want to keep my 1-2 punch with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I'm already kind of questionable at the quarterback position as it is, as far as J.J. McCarthy. Not sure what they're going to do right off the bat with Sam Darnold, if they're going to end up franchising him or just letting him walk. If they do decide to go the route of having J.J. McCarthy, what you want to do is you want to have as many weapons as you can. You know, you got Addison, you got Jefferson, you got T.J. Hawkinson. You know, you still got Aaron Jones in the backfield. If I'm Atlanta, I don't think I'm ready to give up on Bijan Robinson just yet, kind of for the same reason. You know, I got young Michael Penix Jr. At the quarterback position. You know, hopefully Kyle Pitts will be everything that we thought he would be potentially. And I think, you know, a young quarterback, their best friend is a good running game. And Bijan, you know, had a pretty good season last year, all things considered. They kind of muddled through the Kirk Cousins mess. Michael Penix took over late in the season. And if I'm Minnesota or Atlanta, I would say no, unless there was a draft pick or two or something in there, maybe even some salary cap help that would kind of entice me to make that trade.
All right, that's interesting. So wondering who would get the better trade, you kind of alluded to, and Kenny, I want to go to you now. J.J. McCarthy, if he comes in, is it better for him to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, or have Justin Jefferson and Bijan Robinson, a running back that you can rely on to take some of the weight off of you? What is your thought?
Well, you already got Hawkinson there, like David said, and that's the quarterback's best friend for the most part. He's probably going to be throwing it to him as long as he's healthy for the whole year. He's probably going to have a nice season. Aaron Jones Sr., who I've told you before, I'm not a huge fan of, but he's a good player. He always does.
Well, he's a free agent now. He is a free agent.
Right.
So he may
Well,
not be
here,
there.
I wouldn't do it if I'm the Falcons, because he was the best part of my team last year from the Falcons. And now with Penix coming back, I want him to be able to do some play action. I want him to be able to set up the pass. And the only way to do that is to have a great running back. Bijan is too good a running back for me to let go of. And so I think that there are plenty of running backs that we can add in Minnesota that will fit over there. And I want to keep my Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, just like David said. And with J.J. McCarthy, of course, you want to have the weapons. I'm still on the track that, like, I don't know how you let Sam Darnold go. And I know last year I would have hated him because he's a Niner and he was like a joke here. He was literally a joke. Everybody hated him. He goes over there and does that. He's playing in a dome, nice and safe. He's got a good defense there to help him like Jimmy G did. And so if I'm Minnesota, I don't want to let go of Sam Darnold.
All right, you kind of veered off over there to the Sam Darnold thing. That's all right. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it may be expensive to keep him. And if you want to get on that topic just for a second while we're there, so we don't have to veer off it and go to it later, to ask both of you, in my opinion, first of all, I think that Sam Darnold, yes, he's a good quarterback, but he's not going to get you over the hump, and that has been proven. Again, I don't want to reduce his entire season to 2 games, but they were the 2 most important games. You drafted J.J. McCarthy for a reason. Now, the only reason that I would keep Sam Darnold is if McCarthy isn't ready health-wise. Otherwise, get the kid on the field. We saw Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels both go to the playoffs this year. I think it's time to put in the kid. Sam Darnold, look, he's been to so many different places already. He's about to go to his 4th.
But this was his best situation, right?
It was, but and that is in large part, and we know about this because Brock Purdy thrives under Kyle Shanahan's system, how he thrived under Kevin O'Connell. And I feel like, or at least they feel like, J.J. McCarthy can do that for them. So I don't think that them keeping Sam Darnold is a real option unless prime time J.J. McCarthy is not fully ready physically.
Yeah, I'm if I'm can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of the thought that if I'm Minnesota, I really don't want to lose the momentum that I have. The division's already going to be tough enough with potentially Chicago on up, come up. You know what you got going on with the Packers and the Lions, who have a lot of questions as well. I think one of the things Minnesota is kind of worried about with giving Sam Darnold a lot of money is the fact that I think they got about 15 to 18 of their own free agents that they got to sign. So, Minnesota, as far as cap wise, I think they're kind of middle of the pack as far as how much salary cap room they have left. I know that we were talking, last week about Sam Darnold and potentially franchise tagging him and things like that, but it's kind of hard to go from being a 14-15 win team to all of a sudden, you already got a new quarterback. And it's just I think their biggest concern might be the fan base. How will the fan base kind of react to the fact that, okay, you're going to the guy after the season you just had, you were a couple of bad Sam Darnold games away from, potentially making some serious noise. But, and on the flip side of that, we know Minnesota kind of has a recent history of choking in the playoffs. But if I'm Minnesota, I really don't want to lose that momentum yet. I may put J.J. McCarthy off one more year and go with Sam Darnold and just see what you can do full season. Maybe add a piece or two here on defense. But if I'm Minnesota, man, I think I try to run it back.
Yeah, man, I'm sorry. I disagree with you guys. I'm ready to go with the kid. I think that you move Sam Darnold, you get what you can for him because right now his stock is as high as it's ever going to be. So get what you can. You're probably not going to get a first rounder. I'm not saying that, but if you get a high second round pick, something like that, to me, that'd be worth it. So, again, I think you go with the kid right there. But, all right, that's your guys' opinion. I respect it, but I disagree with it. I'll move
real
on
quick,
to
here's what they said. I'm sorry to interrupt. Real quick before we move on. You need a great quarterback if you want to make the playoffs.
Are you calling Sam Darnold a great quarterback? Is that
no?
What
But I'm saying no, definitely not, as you know. But what I will say is we don't know what J.J. McCarthy's going to do.
But they drafted him for a reason. Like, that's the point. Like, what do you?
They drafted Jordan Love. They sat him for 3 years. So,
Aaron Rodgers was the starter. Do not compare Sam Darnold to Aaron Rodgers. You want to get off the show right now? I mean, do you really want to?
You gotta let guys develop. There's no minor league system in this NFL. There's no minor league system. You can call it college if you want, but when I was in college, I was high and drunk the whole time. Even in sports, doesn't matter. So you want people to develop, and so now Zach Wilson and a lot of these quarterbacks that got rushed out there, Mac Jones, they're considered trash now. Do you really believe those guys are trash?
I believe that they went to bad organizations, and I believe that McCarthy's in a really good organization right now, a solid one with a solid head coach and good players around him. Like you mentioned, guys, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hockenson. Hello, thank you very much. Maybe they draft a running back in the first round with Omarion Hampton later on. That's a possibility, and who knows what he can do. So there is, and look, and prime time. I know you alluded to this real quick. Minnesota's got money to spend. They got $62 million, in the cap. So they got money to spend. So they can go out there and get a few players. And I think they should definitely work on their defense. That's part of it because it's sort of letting up a lot of points. But their offensive line is another thing. You got to help that out too. We saw Sam Darnold under a lot of pressure. But I like you guys' argument. I totally like it. I do. All right. Let's get to a few because we got a lot of stuff to do and we don't have as much time as we want to do it. So let's get to it. Micah Parsons. He does not really want to be in Dallas right now, talking a lot of trash on his podcast or whatever it is. So let me ask you a question. Who says no to this trade? You're the Dallas Cowboys. You call up the New England Patriots to say, I'll give you Micah Parsons for the 4th overall pick. What do you say, Mr. Primetime?
Oh, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
If you're who?
What's that?
If you're who, you do it.
If I'm New England.
Okay.
If I'm New England, I do that in a heartbeat. If not, so $128 million under the cap, and I can afford to re-sign him long term, which is probably going to be one of the things that if he does get traded, whoever he goes to, that's going to be one of the things that's probably going to be the first order of business is to make sure that I get paid. I think Micah Parsons' time in Dallas is over. I think he said too much and then backpedaled. He'll make comments and then he'll backpedal. I love Dak. I hate Dak. I love Mike. I hate Mike. I think there's just been too much said there for him to continue to go on in Dallas. If I'm New England, I'm picking up both phones. I got phones on both ears right now. And I'm talking to Jerry Jones and I'm talking to Stephen Jones and I'm talking to whomever else I have to talk to make that happen because for nothing else, I got almost $130 million to spend this offseason. I got a brand new head coach who is a defensive-minded head coach, by the way. And I think Micah Parsons, with a couple more pieces, New England, and this is going to sound off the charts, but I think New England could contend for that division considering the amount of money they have, considering the guy that they have at the head coaching position right now, and considering the fact that they can go out right now, man, and buy 4 or 5 top free agents. They can get the top 4 or 5 free agents in the league right now if they wanted to. And I'm definitely making that the 4th pick. There's really not anybody out there. New England has so many holes right now. I think Micah Parsons would be equivalent to a 4th round pick or a 4th overall pick, I'm sorry. And then with the money that I have in free agent, I can play around and I can build pieces around him on defense, which their defense isn't that bad. Their offense has been the problem with Drake May and everything. But yeah, I'm New England. I make that trade in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Micah Parsons wants to get paid. New England can pay him, Kenny. So if I am New England, I do that. And if I'm Dallas, I do that. But to you, does anybody say no in that scenario?
I would say no if I'm New England because I have a 1st-round pick. I can get a stud up there for 5 years, real cheap. And I've said this with Myles Garrett. I would just rather have that. Micah Parsons is a cancer. Just ask Dallas. I know that there are a few people that can play that well and get to the quarterback and pressure the quarterback. Micah Parsons, Bosa, Garrett, TJ Watt. These guys, they do that better than anyone. You asking me personally, then no, because I'm like more of a money ball guy. I would have traded BA. I would have traded Bosa. I would have traded Debo. I would have traded all those guys when they were worth something so that I can have a haul and build my team up from the inside. Young players who are hungry, who haven't gotten that bag yet. That's just my style. So I wouldn't do that. I want the 4th pick. I love the 4th pick. In fact, if I have the 4th pick, I may even try and move up and get the 1st pick before I get rid of my 4th pick.
But you don't think that Micah Parsons, the biggest problem with him is the fact that he just might not want to be in Dallas anymore?
Until he doesn't want to be in New England.
He might.
What's
if
that?
They pay him, if they give him $30 million,
it's all about the money with him. I think it's about the money. I think he goes to New England, gets a fresh start. I think a lot of that cancerous stuff goes away. If he goes to New England, then keeps up the same stuff, well, then you see a pattern, and then you kind of have buyer's remorse on that. But
in the AFC,
I can't pass up on a stud like that unless I know for sure I'm going to get Mason Graham or somebody like that with the 4th pick.
Yeah, let's see real quick. McKnight is saying if I was the Patriots due to extending Micah Parsons, I would counter with the 36th and 2nd overall and the 5th overall.
That's because we don't let down. But
I love it. But I think that's an interesting trade right there. That's one that
it is a good trade. It's not a bad trade at all. And Micah Parsons is a stud. What I don't like is Micah Parsons around my quarterback. my rookie quarterback. I don't want the influence on him.
Yeah,
Don't want
I kind of agree with that.
not on my team.
All right, tell me who says no in this trade. TJ Watt for Jahmyr Gibbs. Pittsburgh needs offense. All right. And Detroit, they're trying to beef up that defense. Prime time. I know this is near and dear to your heart. What do you think?
I
Who
say
says
no. If I'm the Lions, I say no.
Okay.
If I'm the Lions, I say no. If nuts, for the simple fact that, and I know I got some of my guys from Factory Zero listening into Jahmyr Gibbs is special.
He sure
And
is.
you already bucked the trend by using the number 12 overall pick. We don't take running backs in the first round. Well, the Lions did it, and it worked out very well for them. David Montgomery is not going to be your he's not going to be your solution long term. You're not going to find another back like Jahmyr Gibbs. If I'm the Lions, I can always go out and I can make a deal for somewhere like a Trey Hendrickson or something like that, or maybe package a couple draft picks, maybe to move up and get some. This is a very big man defensive and defensive tackle heavy draft. So with the right coaching and the right situation, I think they can go out there and they can get somebody without having to give up somebody who's a specialist, Jahmyr Gibbs, to, kind of like your bold prediction last week when you said that he's going to have over, 2,000 rushing yards. I don't, if I'm the Lions, I absolutely don't make that deal.
All right, so the Detroit fan is not letting his lion roar out of Detroit for TJ Watt, who is sack master flex over there, Kenny. Who says no in this trade? Lost your volume. You're on mute. Kenny, you're on mute. You're on mute, you fool. You can't even hear me because you're on mute. Let me unmute you. Kenny, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
You unmuted me. I muted myself again.
Yes, you did.
No, I'm
Welcome back to the planet, pal.
Thank you. Pittsburgh would love that shit, but I don't think that Detroit would love that. In fact, like David said, David Montgomery is the guy that goes through people, not around them. And so you never know what's going to happen. He can get hurt in the first 3 games, and then you got nothing. And so Jahmyr Gibbs is just too good to get rid of, in my opinion.
I do bring it up in part because you're going to have to pay this kid some money, all right? Otherwise, you're going to have to let him go. I mean, I know running backs don't make a lot, but he's going to get the top market value of what running backs are getting when that does come around. 15, 16, 17 million dollars. We'll see what it is. But yeah,
but Detroit was known for having just one running back or just one wide receiver, and so I could still see that happening. And so Barry Sanders, he is not, but Jahmyr Gibbs is that incredible. Nostalgic sort of like feel of bringing back that Barry Sanders.
He's incredible.
Yeah, you're not going to give up Jahmyr Gibbs for TJ Watt and then go out and sign Aaron Jones. That's just not, to me, that's not equal. The Lions window right now, they got maybe 2, maybe 3 years left with the way things are going right now. I think they go all in. I think you keep what you have and just keep adding to it. Although TJ Watt's a beast, I still think you can get better value either from the draft or maybe going out and holding out maybe for one of the big-time established defensive ends who will probably come cheaper, like a Trey Hendrickson will probably come a lot cheaper than TJ Watt would when it comes time to pay him.
Maybe. That's an interesting one. They may be getting equal amount of money. We'll see if Cincinnati is going to pay him. Right now, they're in a freaking conundrum. They don't know if they're going to pay Jamar Chase more. They're saying they're going to pay Jamar Chase more money than any non-quarterback in the league. They're already paying Burrow a ton of money. T. Higgins, if they franchise tag him, it's going to be $20 million. And then what do you do with Trey Hendrickson? You got to pay him north of $26, $27 million. It's a little crazy. It might be worth to get rid of Trey Hendrickson because that defense sucks as it is. So you might as well start over. So you may be onto something there. That's a possibility.
Agree.
Let me give you another one. All right. This one's a little bit different. Stephon Diggs from Houston going to the Broncos, who really have nobody at wide receiver, for the 20th overall pick. Do you think he's worth a first-round pick at this stage in his career?
No, I don't. I think people get caught up on the name. A lot of these guys that are later on in their careers, Jerry Jones might do some stuff like that because we all know how he is with names. But if I'm the Broncos, There's no way because if I'm Denver, I still have some pieces that I need. I'm not there yet. If Stephon Diggs was going to be that piece that put me over the top or close to the top, I might, kind of take a second or third look at that proposal. But considering what the Broncos are right now, I need that 20th pick. I may even package something to try to move up in the draft. And Stephon Diggs, I don't think Stephon Diggs is what he once was. He had a decent season. He got hurt last year, didn't he?
Stephon Diggs did get hurt last year. Well,
yeah. So coming off an injury, and I'm just not. I've never been a huge Stephon Diggs fan, but I understand what he could potentially bring to the table. But if I'm the Broncos, I'm building it kind of like the way that the Lions did, and you can get a receiver in the draft, later rounds, or maybe if you use that 20th pick, you can get you a nice receiver. The young man out of Arizona. McMillan, 6'5", if he even falls that far. I doubt it, but it's a potential. But if I'm Denver, I just bide my time and either find somebody who I know is going to be a little bit more productive or is going to give me a little bit more value for that instead of giving up my 20th pick overall.
All right. Kenny, what if I change the name from Stephon Diggs to T. Higgins or DK Metcalf? Would that make a difference for you?
I like the wide receivers that the Broncos already have, and so I'm okay with them. What they really need is a tight.
They got Cortland Sutton. That's it. They got nobody.
They got Mims over there.
I know they have Mims. I know he's a player in the NFL, but I mean, is he really? Is he a number one, number two guy? No.
If you're given the chance, I think he could be number 2, number 3. I mean, there are plenty of wide receivers are a dime or a dozen. Just like
they scored 7 friggin' points against the Bills in that playoff game.
You a
they
name
did that first 2 minutes of the game.
Can I give you a guy that I'd rather have instead of making a huge move like that for some guy that could possibly get hurt 6 months after he was already injured? A guy who won't even probably be drafted. Jimmy Horn Jr., 5'8", elite route runner, fast as hell. You can't make it work with him?
Maybe it was Sean Payton may be able to, sure.
Why would I do that when I can get an undrafted wide receiver who can catch a ball? All these guys have been catching balls since Pop Warner. Why can't they catch a ball from Bo Nix? I would never do that again. I'm more of a Moneyball guy. Give me the picks. I would trade up to get Tyler Warren with my pick, or I would trade back to get more picks. We're a young team. I don't think the Broncos are going to be winning that division, not next year. And so I want to build my team up still.
All right.
And I think you still got a shot too to, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State might fall to you at 20.
Yeah.
So that could be something that that the Broncos are potentially looking at too. So I think the Broncos right now are not in a position to spend that type of money. And I'm not 100% convinced that T. Higgins could be a number 1. I don't think he's a number 1.
It's really funny you mentioned, Egbuka, because I did my mock draft and I have the Broncos taking him, as a matter of fact. So that's really funny that you say that. I got my first mock draft out.
Luther Burden III will also,
from Missouri. Sure, he's another good player. Absolutely. Yeah,
there's the guy in UNLV, Ricky White.
If Travis Hunter decides to come out as a wide receiver, by the way, I don't think that he should be a wide receiver because wide receivers in this league are a dime a dozen. Shutdown cornerbacks are rare, man. Like, there may be, 3, 4, possibly 5 in the league, maybe. If Travis Hunter is really that type of cornerback, you have got to come in. And let me tell you something real quick. I'm listening to Colin Cowherd today. Give a shout out to that show. That's a really great show, by the way.
That's
and
my
he's
man.
Interviewing Eugene Robinson. And Eugene Robinson was asked to play wide receiver. He went to Colgate at college. But long story short, to wrap it up, he decided that he was going to come into the league as a cornerback because he was going to get drafted way higher. And he was even told by Atlanta, the Falcons, that if he comes into the league as a wide receiver, they may be able to pick him up as a free agent after the draft. After he heard that, he's like, nope, I'm going to be a cornerback. What'd he do? Went to a couple of Super Bowls. Not too bad.
Hey, real quick. I just want to round off as fast as I can the names of the people who could possibly be traded. Okay, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. You got Geno Smith who could go. You got Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Tyreek Hill, Justin Tucker, Trey Hendrickson. There is a lot of toys under the Christmas tree
Yeah.
I'm trying to spend some money on those boys.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
Make a
Let
little
me
trade happen.
You mentioned Pittsburgh, right? So what happens there? They don't have a quarterback under contract right now. Neither Fields or Russell Wilson are under contract. And you would assume they're going to sign one of them, maybe both of them. And we had this conversation kind of briefly. I think that you go with Justin Fields and you move forward and you try to get whatever the hell else you can, but find weapons out there. Get wide receivers. Do something like that. But Russell Wilson, to me, I think he's got to go. You got to move on with the offense. Get with the new offense with mobile quarterbacks who can run, get you 100 yards rushing in a game.
It seems to be the new pattern, the new trend for sure.
You know what though, and I hear you guys, but I just had this conversation at work today with a couple of my guys. You know, mobile quarterback, how many Super Bowls has Lamar Jackson won? How many Super Bowls has Josh Allen won? We haven't had a mobile quarterback win a Super Bowl since, if you take Jalen Hurts out of the equation, since your guy, Steve Young. You know, Steve McNair didn't win a Super Bowl. Michael Vick didn't win a Super Bowl. Fran Tarkenton, who was the original running quarterback, didn't win a Super Bowl. Right. So I'm not 100% sold.
I think he lost 3.
What's that? Tarkenton? Yeah, so I'm not 100% sold that you absolutely have to have a mobile quarterback. And the Steelers, they got $60 million under the cap. So they got some money to play around with too. They need weapons on offense. We say it all the time about the Steelers, and we're going to continue to say it. They need to start spending money on their skill positions, or they're going to continue to be the bottom guys for the Ravens and the Bengals for the next who knows how long.
They did have 3 linemen there. They drafted 3 offensive linemen and a wide receiver last year with their first 4 picks.
They need impact.
You got to do better than just George Pickens. You've got to have. Look, Pat Fryermuth is not scaring anybody. I'm sorry. That's not like the Titan. Oh my God, Pat Fryermuth is playing today. What the hell are we going to freaking do?
Right. Let's game plan for that. Yeah. Right.
The same effect that it used to have. Huh?
I mean, geez, man, they get with the program. You got to start playing offense. And listen, I hear you about the mobile quarterback thing, and Patrick Mahomes is not labeled as a mobile quarterback, but I'll be damned, that man can run, and especially in the Super Bowls, he's shown it time and time again that his running ability and his capability has made an impact on that offense. So I hear what you're saying, and you're right, and that's in large part because Tom Brady was dominating and winning fucking 7 Super Bowls just sitting in the pocket. So I hear what you're saying about the mobile quarterback. I get you.
I still like the pocket passer too, which is why the Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders topic is such a big thing.
And we're going to get to that. We definitely are. I'll give you guys a couple more because Mr. Primetime has got himself a segment that we're going to do. So who says no in this trade over here? As you say hello to Simon Stoller. What's up? Favorite day of the week?
That's one of my guys. What's up, Simon? What's up? That's one of my guys.
Simon says.
Simon says. I love it. I love it. Let's see what Simon says on this one. See if he agrees, disagrees. Who says no? Who says yes? Who says no over here? Kenny, our 49ers. Debo, and our first-round pick for Sauce Gardner.
You just picked the wrong you picked the wrong tree because I'm a huge Debo Samuel fan. And I know he's got to go. We've paid everyone else. He's not the same guy.
Wants
to
leave.
The same guy. It's a different scheme. We're not doing that dink and dunk, yak, running through people thing. It's just not what we've been doing. So Debo does have to go. He also wants a ton of money after he saw all these wide receivers get paid. And so he's definitely gone. Will I trade him? Yes. Would I trade him with my first pick? No. And Sauce Gardner, absolutely not. The Jets are also a cancer. Anyone who's been a Jet or touched a Jet or been there for more than 3 months is off my radar.
Yeah, they're kind of like the Mets in that way. But once they leave that team, they become superstars. So that's what I'm saying. I think Sauce Gardner comes over. Yeah. Sauce to come over to the 49ers and be the best cornerback that was ever created.
Listen, Sauce, well, that's the thing. Didn't Sauce and Debo went at it, I think. And so they weren't going to be there at the same time, so I guess it'd be okay.
Right? Hey, listen, Mr.
And we do need a quarterback, and
and we're going to talk about the quarterback at the end of the show. We're going to end with Brock Purdy, all right? After we do our next segment, we're going to end with Brock Purdy. I got a lot to talk about, and I got to get you guys' opinion on this, all right? So, okay. Mr. Primetime, I don't know. Where do you fall on this one? Debo, 4.
I'm not a Debo fan at all. Here's one thing that I'm a general manager. If I'm a general manager, one of the things I look at is my division. Am I even if I make this move, how much better am I going to be within my division before I even talk about the rest of the conference? So if I look at Sauce Gardner, who am I going up against on a weekly basis if I move to the NFC West? I got DK Metcalf. I got Puka Nacua. I got Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like, is Sauce Gardner, when you really break it down, he's in the AFC East right now. Who's the biggest threat that he really has to worry about in the AFC East on a regular basis?
Well, unless they deal him. Amari
That's
Cooper,
my point.
Keon Cole.
But they're I would take the other 3 in the NFC West over the guys that you just mentioned. I did have one of my guys from work brought up Debo to Dallas, and that's such a Jerry Jones thing to do because of the name. But no, if I'm the Jets, I don't do that. I'm too busy. Right? Aaron Glenn wouldn't do that at all. Aaron Glenn played the position. There's no way in heck that Aaron Glenn would give up. Aaron Glenn would give it a big fat no.
Defense guy.
Simon's saying that the Jets receiver room would be too packed. I think that Devontae Adams is on his way out, especially that Aaron Rodgers ain't there. But if he is there, maybe that's a good point. But I think he's gone, and Garrett Wilson is upset too. But I think they're going to find ways to work it out with him. I think Garrett Wilson's a really good wide receiver that doesn't get enough love, in my opinion.
Jason,
all right, man.
Before we move off of the free agents, I have questions for you two guys. Real quick,
let's hear it.
Before we move on. You want to go with it?
Bring it on.
All right, here's an idea. You like it or not? Yes or it's just a yes or no whether you like the move or not. Josh Sweat available? You think they're going to resign him? We'll start there. You think they'll resign him or he's gone?
Go ahead, prime time.
I'm resigning him. I mean, you almost have to. After the Super Bowl and everything, you almost have to resign him. It's just a matter of for how long and for how much. The going rate. I mean, I'm not going to pay him top dollar. I'm not going to pay him. I'll pay him mid-tier to upper mid-tier money, but he's not going to get $35 million from me. If he wants to stick around for $20 million a year, for 2 years or something like that, I'll do it. But I'm not going to break the bank on him just because he had a couple of good games, which happen to be playoff games. But I'm not going to break the bank for him at all. But I would like to keep him, but we'd have to really sit down and talk numbers. And if he's wanting some astronomical, Myles Garrett type money or something like that, Micah Parsons type money, then you can keep on walking because with the defense that they have, they can plug guys in, and it seems like everybody they put in there is successful.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, Darwin's Raven chiming in saying that Philly wants him and they think he can make it work. It is a possibility. I do agree with Primetime. I wouldn't break the bank going after it. They do have a lot of really good players as it is, like Malik Williams and players like that. And they can always get somebody in the draft. There's Jameer Stewart, who's a really good. There's so many good defensive ends coming out of this draft, or defensive tackles like Derek Harmon. Or they can go after linebackers like Tyler Booker. There's a lot of really good guys out there. Kenneth Grant. And I'm not claiming that I know everything about college football, but there's always a way to find another guy. And that's what is a smart thing to do because Jalen Hurts is going to have to get paid sometime soon.
Yeah. Well, Levi has actually just said this recently. The defensive line and the defensive players in the draft this year is pretty deep, and I think you can get some really good studs late in the draft. So that would be really nice if they worked out. Here's one scenario. Here's somebody who could compete for Josh Sweat and maybe call him and make him a nice deal. What do you think about him reuniting with his old DC, Jonathan Gannon, for the Cardinals? Did you see that?
Would love that. I don't know what they would have to give up, but the Cardinals would love that. They need defense in the worst way, man. The Cardinals need to draft all defensive players. They need to forget about the offensive side of the ball completely and just draft defensive players. That's it.
And they're almost $80 million under the cap too. But I think going back to what you guys were talking about the draft, you got guys like Jalen Walker from Georgia. You got James Pierce from Tennessee. There's some guys that'll fall to you late in the draft. So if you don't want to break the bank on Sweat, and then who knows, with Philly, they'll probably draft somebody from Georgia anyway. So they'll probably end up with Jalen Walker when it's all said and done to replace.
Wow,
he's an edge guy, but he can stand up too.
What's up to Bay Area Sports, Jay? What's going on over there? Love it, man.
Yeah.
Love
What's up,
John
Bay
Jay,
Area,
he's
to my
a
guys?
college- He's great with college. So anything you want to know about college, John Jay guy.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So we are going to kick off a different type of segment right now, and we're going to throw it over to Mr. Primetime for a little action right now. What do we got going on over here, bud?
All right, man. What we have possible or pipe dream. So I'm going to give you guys 5 scenarios, and then you guys tell me if it's something that's possible or if it's something that's a pipe dream. And we're going to start off with probably the hottest topic right now is, will Myles Garrett, now keep in mind before I ask this question, Myles Garrett already said he's not going to negotiate a new deal during the season. He's not going to negotiate anything with Cleveland. So he really 100% wants out of Cleveland. So the general manager on the flip side of that has said they're not trading him. So the first scenario, guys, is, will Myles Garrett get traded at all? And if so, who's your top maybe 1 or 2 destinations for Myles Garrett?
Any pick'ems? You want to take it, or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first because I want you to say the smart stuff.
I mean, the smart guy's got to come in over here a little bit.
Let
All
me
right,
pick up the leftovers. You go ahead.
check it out. Myles Garrett is going to get traded because he is, like you said, he's made it very clear he does not want to play for this organization. Despite what you're hearing from management, they want to keep him. It's true they want to keep him, but they're not going to. Now, he's 30 years old. That has got to be kept in mind by teams who are going to sign him and give him a lot of money. And you got to think he's probably going to get somewhere around a 4-year contract. Where does he go? The Lions are a definite chance, man. How does he get there is the question. Well, you're going to probably have to give up a big offensive player. I'm not saying you got to give up Amon-Ra St. Brown or you got to give up Jahmyr Gibbs, but you're going to have to give up something because Detroit is not drafting until what, 27 or something like that, 28?
Yeah, I think they're 20. Yeah.
So I can see him in Detroit, but I'm not sure of the path of how he's going to get there.
David?
Kenny, what do you think?
Right now? What do you think about the Detroit stuff, David?
No, he's asking you.
Oh,
No, this is for you. I'll say what you said. I'll go with the leftovers.
you know what? You said before when you said there's one team who wants to get rid of one stud and there's another team that wants to get rid of another stud. Why doesn't Cleveland and Dallas talk about swapping Garrett and Parsons? Is that a possibility?
Wow.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. But I think
Micah sounds like it's not going to be in Dallas. I feel like Cleveland's the next best thing for him, and they could get a quarterback in this draft, or they could add another guy like maybe Abdul Carter doesn't get picked. Maybe they go Hunter, they go Cam Ward. Some weird stuff happens in the draft, and they get Abdul Carter. So now you got Abdul Carter and Micah Parsons, and it's already a who's the defensive coordinator? Schwartz, or is that the head coach?
Jim Schwartz is the D coordinator.
There you go. And it's a great defense. They've always been known for defense in Cleveland. I feel like it's a nice move. And then you get rid of Parsons, and he could do his podcast all day and talk shit about Cleveland. I mean, no one's going to be surprised. No one's going to be mad when you talk about Cleveland. It's just what everybody does. So
right. I think my counter to all that again is this draft is so deep with quality defensive guys. It's almost, if I'm the Lions, I still do it. I'll give him a 3-year deal. I'm not going to give him a 4-year deal, but he'll probably want a 4-year deal. I'm not giving up anybody on offense. You can have my first-round pick for the next 2 years. You can have my third-round pick for the next. I'll give you 4 picks for Myles Garrett. I'm $50 million under the cap, so I can sign him. But the problem is that the Lions have had 7 really good first-round draft picks over the last couple of years, and you're going to end up having to pay these guys. So that's another thing I think Brad Holmes is keeping in mind too. So good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Moving on. Second question.
Yeah.
What's that?
Man. No, I was going to say,
second question.
Chiming in real quick, but you know, go ahead. We're with you.
Second, will Abdul Carter go number 1 in the draft? Now, keep in mind they were against him having surgery on his foot, so he doesn't have to have that surgery. He seems to be number 1 on a lot of people's draft boards. So my question to you guys is, does Abdul Carter go number 1 overall?
No, he doesn't. And I'm going to tell you right now, he's not going number 1 overall because the Titans are going to realize finally, and I think they've already come to this realization because I was reading an article, you need a quarterback. You're not going to win in this league unless you have a quarterback. And people are loving on Cam Ward right now. Now, I have heard that if this was last year's draft, he may not be the first, second, or third quarterback pick. You know what? It's this year's draft. And he's done some amazing things. And he went from a 0 recruit to one of the best players in college football, doing what he did with the Miami Hurricanes. It looks like he's the best quarterback in this draft, and it looks like he's worthy of being a number 1 pick. The Titans have so much work to do, but if you don't have a quarterback, you've got nothing. While the Titans can make moves, go ahead, draft Cam Ward. You don't have to pay him. You can go out there because you got, $54 million in cap space. Get some help.
They have a good offensive line.
I agree. Kenny, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Tennessee can protect him, so that's the good thing. They have a pretty good offensive line. Beyond that, I don't know if I like it. I don't think I want Cam Ward, even though I don't even think he's a top 4 pick. But if you got to be QB needy and it's going to make you take a quarterback, then go ahead and do it. But Tennessee is just going to ruin another quarterback, and that's my opinion. So I know Primetime ain't happy about it because he wants Cam Ward, and so hopefully it'll go Travis Hunter Abdul-Carter or Travis Hunter Abdul-Carter, and then the Giants can get their quarterback, Cam Ward. I don't know if that's going to happen. If I have a chance to get Hunter or Abdul-Carter and I'm picking 1 and 2, I'm probably going to take one of those guys because quarterbacks are it's such a finicky position. And you're going to have him go to Tennessee, and what was he going to do there? Compete with the Jags for last place? If that's really what Tennessee wants to do, they can do that. I would never do that. In fact, I might even trade my first round pick. Let the Giants have Cam Ward, move up to 1 from 3, and then move back, and you still get what you want. You can still get a quarterback. There are still quarterbacks out there. I still think Shedeur Sanders now Shedeur, throw him in Tennessee. Okay, he's already faced a ton of adversity. He's been on 2 rebuilds. He can handle this shit. The man has been at dinner tables and living rooms and hanging out with legends and NFL icons since he was a baby. This kid is built for that shit. I'd rather go Shedeur there. Of course, you can't do that with your first pick. People are going to think you're crazy. Maybe move back. Maybe the Raiders want Cam Ward and they move all the way up to 1. That's just how I feel. But I would never go quarterback because we need a quarterback. When you go for the need instead of the best player, that shit winds up biting you in the ass a lot of times.
And I agree.
I agree. Real quick, David, I wanted to get your opinion on what Darwin's Raven is saying, that Jameson Williams' contract is coming up. He may be getting paid sometime soon. So do you think that a Detroit to Cleveland trade is possible?
I'm thinking J-Mo.
There's a lot of talk in Detroit about the Lions and should they re-sign him, should they give him an extension? He's had some legal troubles. He's had some off-the-field issues the last couple of years. But what we saw last year, man, is just a glimpse as to how good this guy can really be. If I'm the Lions, I kind of go ahead and I kind of, if you want to laden it with incentives and things like that, even maybe some conduct clauses in his contract, you go ahead and do that. But if I'm the Lions, there's no way that I'm letting him get away because we talked a little bit about it last week. I still think the Lions could use another receiver unless Tim Patrick just has some type of resurgence. You're still going to need that third guy. And with J-Mo and Amon-Ra, they're both kind of small guys. J-Mo is really fast, but he's still kind of undersized. But I think what he can do when he can, taking the top off, as long as you're not letting him throw the ball, as long as you're not letting J-Mo throw the ball, I think the Lions it behooved them to keep J-Mo.
No reason for him to be throwing the ball. And look, you do got White. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Williams, you got Sam Laporta, who's becoming one of the top tight ends in the league. I think you want to keep Jameson Williams, but I think that it's important to get him more involved in the offense. The guy gets 3 to 4 targets a game, and he'll get a couple of handoffs here and there. You got to get him more involved. I mean, you don't draft a guy that high and have him only get 4 targets a game. I'm sorry. So I think that's on the offense a little bit. Maybe the next coordinator coming in, who is not Ben Johnson, obviously, will change that up.
So, good. And just real quick before we go to the next one, Kenny, to your point about Tennessee in a quarterback situation. Who's their head coach right now?
Not Vrabel.
No, Tennessee.
No, I'm saying not Vrabel. anymore.
So I'm saying you don't really have the coaching down there to develop a quarterback, and I think you stick with the mayonnaise man for now. You see how that goes, but I think drafting another quarterback, I think you're just wasting.
If we want to do leave Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, maybe.
There's no point. What are you going to do? You're throwing away another season. How many seasons does Tennessee want to throw away? Nobody's going to go to the fucking games anymore. They're going to stop going. Nobody's going to.
But how far? They're so far away that it doesn't even if they drafted a quarterback, they're still they're fighting for the 7th spot in their conference.
They're fighting
at best.
2 years ago, what happened to Houston? They sucked. They got C.J. Stroud. Last year, Washington sucked. They got Jaden Daniels. I'm not saying that Cam Ward is going to be Jesus Christ. What I am saying is that it's possible, and go fucking try it.
Hey! I'm just saying that because I want Cam Ward. I don't want Tennessee to draft. I want Cam Ward right here, baby.
That's
I don't want.
But Cam Ward to the Giants as well. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Like you said, you're fighting for last place, and I still think Shador would be better if you have to have a quarterback in Tennessee. I feel like that's the perfect guy. You want to.
Plus, he'll put butts in the seats. He'll put butts in the seats.
That jersey is being #1 sold jersey in Tennessee that week. So
Oh my God, yeah. So we got two more. Actually 3 more. I'll breeze through this one real quick. So my next one for you guys is with Ben Johnson as the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Does that make Chicago as a contender for the NFC North realistically? How do you guys like their chances of either winning the NFC North or even making the playoffs?
I think they could be a back-end wild card team. I don't see a problem with that because I'm not sure that Minnesota's going to have the year they did last year. I'm not sold on Green Bay, even though I do like them. And I do think that Detroit will be back and will win that division. So I don't think Chicago wins the division, but they could get the 7th seed. They could be a 9-8, 10-17, and their defense has shown that they can play really well. They got a couple of bucks to spend, so go out and spend it. But you got to make sure that you give Caleb Williams options. They have almost $80 million. So go out there, get these guys, let Ben Johnson work his magic. And I think that Chicago could potentially be a playoff team, yes.
Yeah, I mean, an offensive coordinator is now your head coach. I mean, they pretty much brought him there for Caleb, right? So finally get somebody to develop Caleb, hopefully. And so I think that going an offensive coordinator on a team that has an okay defense is probably... Ben Johnson, he's been at Miami and Detroit, right? Is that where he's played? Or that's where he was? I feel like he's ready to go. And Chicago's ready to ball now, even though it's Chicago, and we know they're like just one of those teams that just can't get it together ever, especially at quarterback. So the Bears have a huge problem with
help on offense. They need offensive line help, like Darwin's Raven is pointing out right now. And I got them taking Armand Membo from Missouri, an offensive lineman. So I think that's where they go in the draft. Yeah,
again, exactly. So they got to protect Caleb. They got Ben Johnson there now. So I had a whole thing. I wanted to take Trey Smith and bring him over there and reunite him with the guy who drafted him, Ryan Poles. That would have been perfect. But now the Chiefs had locked down Trey Smith, and so it is what it is. So if they had gotten Trey Smith and then drafted an O-lineman with their first pick, there could have been some success, I think. I don't know what's going to happen.
David, your boy Simon is definitely agreeing with Darwin's Raven over there, saying it's about the offensive line. You got to fix it. Yeah, you got to protect your young quarterback, man. If you want him to be around and sign another contract, hopefully, because he's doing well, you got to protect the kid. So,
Simon, please contact Kyle Shanahan and tell him that for us.
Kidding.
Well, and two, you're not, you got to figure out what you're going to do with at your running back position too, because DeAndre Swift is not the long-term answer.
Yeah.
So. Next one, possible or pipe dream. This is right up in your guys' wheelhouse. Will the 49ers return to the status as Super Bowl contenders next year?
No, not yet. They're not ready. They're going to have to do some work. After they structure Brock Purdy's contract, they're going to have to start figuring it out. They're going to have to start drafting better. That's another thing. I don't understand
That would be
some
nice.
of the draft picks that they made. Their history in drafting wide receivers is so sketchy, other than Terrell Owens. I mean, I think about like guys like Michael Crabtree, for God's sake, Ricky Pearsall. What are you doing drafting him in the first round? That was a total waste. They got to figure this shit out in the draft. They got to get younger players over there. They're getting old. They're getting bad. They're getting worse on the offensive line. They're not going to be able to protect Brock Purdy as much. Debo's going to be gone. Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy. The defense is not what it was. I'm sorry. If they're in the playoffs next year, I'll be happy. Winning the
Guys,
division, going to the Super Bowl.
I wish you could see this. It's a graph about the last 10 years. And the Niners have had great picks, and they're all the way at the bottom. If you see them, it's hard to see, but see them, San Francisco? They've had some of the best picks in the last 10 years, and they've bungled the draft. They make terrible picks. This has been going on for years.
But John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are the greatest things since pants with pockets. If you let everybody else tell it.
And we used
Like,
to have
come on.
Peter and Adam Peters. So what was going on? You know, like what the heck's going on over there?
And I just say that just to razz Prophet. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I just love pulling. He loves his Niners, and I love pulling his chain. So, and I can't talk. My Giants can't win. Freaking! I predicted them to go 4-13 last year. They kind of disappointed me a little bit, but
Hey,
anyway.
can we break off for a quick second? I got something for David. New York Giants. Can we fix them in the next 5 minutes, David?
No.
That might not
Here's
happen.
what I suggest. Okay, I think they got 48 million and 8 picks right now. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any? How do you feel about extending Thibodeau? Save a few million.
You say extending Thibodeau?
Extend Thibodeau, because I know Giants fans are not crazy about him.
I didn't want him to draft him. When he went, I didn't want the Giants to draft him. He has flashes, but the problem is that everybody on the Giants has had flashes. And the problem is that I don't need a flash. I need that long-term exposure. That I need that I need that long click, and I can't. Whether the Giants' biggest problem, and it's been this for decades. Oh my God, my head is starting to hurt. Is the offensive line.
Absolutely.
The offensive line. They're turnstiles. Here you go. Here, sack my quarterback. Here you go. Knock Saquon out. Knock Saquon out for minus 3 yards. It's just the Giants have so many holes to fill. I'm surprised Dexter Lawrence hasn't started barking for a trade. But no,
You're lucky.
the Giants are 3-4 years away from anything meaningful, and it might even be moving on from Brian Daboll.
I'm sorry to move on to the Giants thing. I do believe that the 49ers can make it back to the playoffs. Why? Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh. Okay? This is a team that knows how to win. They've been to the final game a couple times. They've been to the NFC Championship twice the amount of times. Kyle knows what he's doing. We had an enormous amount of injuries. I mean, obviously, Detroit dealt with it a lot better than we did, but we lost our number one wide receiver. We lost our number one running back. That's going to affect the way our team played. We also had one of the worst defenses ever in the last, however many years, but we've dominated on defense, the Niners. And our special teams, as usual, pure garbage. And so that's a lot to ask for us to win games when all that's going on at the same time. Also, our kicker, which is included with special teams, was a disaster in the second half of the season. It was so bad. But I do think that with the culture that there is there, with Robert Saleh coming back, now Kyle doesn't have to worry about anything on the defense. He can concentrate on offense. If CMC comes back at 80%, with Garendo back there, with Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk, don't know what's happening. Hopefully he comes back sooner than later. But yeah, I actually do think we can return to the playoffs.
Jordan Mason was pretty good too, wasn't he?
He was. I don't know if he's going to be coming back, but we'll see.
The 49ers know how to run the ball. That's one thing they can do. But, can they play defense? Can they get back to that? That's why they're bringing Robert Saleh, and we'll see.
I believe
that Brock Purdy talk I was talking about, we're definitely going to save that for another show. That's coming at another time.
Let me get back to the Giants thing real quick because I spent some time on it. Okay. Restructure Brian Burns, save $16 million. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, you like that? Okay,
I like that.
Now you got more closer to $60 million to work with. If you restructure, if you extended Thibodeau and you restructured Brian Burns, you're close to $60 million. Okay, do you like Isaiah Simmons coming back?
I do. I absolutely do. He started to come along last season. I wanted him to. Yeah. Long story short, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Aaron Stinney on the cheap. You could bring him back cheap. You like that?
You can probably, I can get him for a bag of Cheez-Its.
There you go. You got to have somebody because, like you said, I mean, you got to fix that line for sure. And the punter and the long snapper, are you going to bring them back? Because they seem like. What do you think?
I don't know. You know, those two positions are always the kind of, you know, I mean, I'm not going to make or break the Giants on a long snapper and a punter. However, you know, field position does, you know, mean a lot in this league. But I can, you know, I'd probably draft a punter or maybe find somebody in the undrafted free agent type thing, you know, once the draft is over. So I'm not 100% sold on either one of those.
Well, prime time, what about this? There's a whole lot of talk about Matthew Stafford going to join his brother-in-law over there in New York, New Jersey. Talk to me.
That leads me to my last scenario. Will Matthew Stafford, possible or pipe dream, will Matthew Stafford get traded? And if so, what are the ramifications for the Rams if he does get traded? I had to do it. I had to do it.
Nice.
I had to do it.
Very good, sir. Well done. Well done.
So, but I personally, I'll give 30 seconds. Yes, I would love Stafford because he's a veteran president. He's got a Super Bowl. The whole brother-in-law thing really doesn't matter to me. It's just Matthew Stafford. He's a leader. Just what he can do with the young receiving core, Jalen Hyatt, Malik Neighbors. Maybe he can resuscitate Darius Slayton. I still think the biggest problem with the Giants is the offensive line, which Matthew Stafford is not a mobile quarterback. So the lack of offensive line is going to be a problem for him. And the fact that you don't have this guy back there anymore is really going to haunt him for the next couple of years. But you can get a running back, a Trayvon Henderson or a Quentin Judkins, maybe even draft Donovan Edwards to kind of help out a little bit. Get maybe an offensive line, one of the big boys from Iowa or Missouri. Absolutely. If I'm the Giants, I do whatever I got to do within reason to make that trade because remember, Stafford's going to want about $50 million a year.
Before I get into why that's a bad idea, do you like Carlton Davis from Detroit to add to the Giants?
Nope. Carlton Davis he's injured too much. I'd go Rasul Douglas.
Oh, Razagul?
Razagul. I'll take Baba Ganoush. I'll take Rasul Douglas before I took Carlton Davis.
Okay. All right. Okay, so here's why I don't like the Stafford going to the Giants. Number one, it's the Giants. It's going to be a disaster. Number two, he gets sacked. Like, he's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in, like, the last 5 years, I think it is. He's not going to be protected, and you brought that up. The other thing is that he's not in a dome. This is a dome quarterback. This is a guy who's played most of his games in a dome. And so now you're going to ask him to go to life where his ankle is going to get turned over on a regular basis. He's going to get injured probably on that.
I don't know, man. He played pretty good in Philly in the snow. He looked all right to me.
You know what? They were the only team that gave Philly any problems. You know, that was amazing. But again, the cold, not in a dome, getting older, not getting protected, and as escapable as he actually is. He's not mobile, but he's escapable. Right? He's a good quarterback. He gets away and makes things happen. I think it would end his career going to the Giants.
Wow.
I hope Cam Ward.
Wow, shots fired.
Sorry.
Damn.
Well, I'll tell you, I agree with Kenny, not as emphatically as he does, but I think the offensive line is the issue over there. I don't think it helps that much, but him and Malik Neighbors could be a lethal combination the way that him and Buka are. But I think right now, I think that he does get traded. Yes, I really do believe he does. I don't even want to go ahead and start talking about Aaron Rodgers in LA. That's a whole other story. But I think Matthew Stafford ends up with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly with the Las Vegas Raiders.
In the
That's
dome.
where I believe he's going.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a beautiful dome.
And Kelly would love that because let's face it, at the end of the day, it's what Kelly wants. If Kelly would love it in Vegas. Oh my God.
Yes,
But
absolutely. And Tom Brady would love to have Matthew Stafford as his quarterback and not Aiden O'Connell and not Gardner Minshew and not whoever the hell else you want to throw out there.
There's one guy who would be great.
No, Aiden O'Connell. Come on.
Yeah, no, you sure? No, number 12.
Absolutely not.
Quarterback.
So
what I want to see,
I do think he ends up there.
Shador go there.
It doesn't mean that I think that they're going to win. I just mean that I think that he's going to go there. That's my destination for him. The Giants, it just doesn't make as much sense. Like Kenny alluded to, even in Georgia, he played most of his career in a dome. So let's be real about it.
I'm desperate, man. I'm desperate. I'm flailing right now. I'm flailing.
Yeah.
Tyson's got me against the ropes, and I'm just swinging for anything. I'm going to end up hitting the ref or the guy in the third row with the gin and tonic. I'm desperate here. Help me out here. Help me.
You gotta channel Buster Douglas. Come on.
Exactly.
Look at the stat,
Right.
though. Look at the stat by Darwin's Raven, though. Giants over
Right.
pressure rate, 38.4%, 28th in the NFL, despite one of the fastest times to throw the ball at 2.76 seconds. Really, that has to do with the mobility of like Daniel Jones, a little bit of that. But
Yeah,
oh,
a
man,
little.
Vanilla
that's wild.
Vic.
Yeah.
Yo, send Jones to another team that isn't competing this year, and he'll be okay. I think he'll be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look, if you know you're not competing, then just throw his ass in there.
Yeah, let the Titans sign him.
You get
Sure,
your quarterback.
why not?
Next year, quarterback draft is supposed to be a lot better. That's what I hear.
So.
Well, let's
All
see
right,
what the
guys. That's
Giants
good job, Jay. I know we're ready to. We're what, an hour and 10 minutes into this. I know you got a
we
couple
went
things
over
you
a
want to
little
get into.
Went over a little bit. That's all right. Yeah, I really wanted to end it with Stafford, ironically, so it worked out kind of perfectly.
It did. That was great time.
It did. It worked out perfectly, and we have a lot. The draft isn't until what, late April, right? So we have a little bit of
End of
time for that. We're going to do our mock drafts, but next week it looks like Richmond Webb. Sorry, offensive lineman of the Dolphins, the 9th overall pick once upon a time. Looks like he'll join us, talk about the combine, because again, the combine, if you like watching men run around in tights, then put on the NFL Network. Then you're good to go. You can watch all that shit. It's a lot of fun. But one quick thing before we do leave, and it may take maybe a couple of minutes for each of us, but we'll get out of here with this one last thing, and I'll start it off. The tush push. Should it be outlawed? Absolutely not, in my opinion. If there's only one team that's doing it so well, figure it the fuck out. Go fix it. Now, I don't like the injury part of it, because I know that Chris Jones got a little banged up in the Super Bowl, but then again, Philly has run this play, 500 times, and nobody's getting hurt for the most part. If anybody's going to get hurt, it's probably going to be Philly's offensive lineman, if anything. You can't abandon it unless you put in the rule that offensive players can't push. That kind of sucks, but you know what? Stop it. And Kansas City was able to stop it against the Bills, but Philly has been able to figure it out. Other teams, go figure it out. I'm sorry. I don't want to ban primetime.
No, I don't either. If it's the old thing, just like when college coaches used to run up the score. Remember the University of Houston with David Klingler and Andre Ware were putting 95 points on the board, and people were complaining. Stop me. It's right. Philly. Philly has perfected the tush push. And if there'll be a lot more teams to try to do it. They may not do it as often as Philly, and they won't be able to do it as well as Philly. But if you can't, stop complaining about it. These defensive coordinators are being paid a lot of money. Do something, figure it out. Yes. Other than like Washington was trying to do in that game where they were jumping. How many times did they jump off sides? 17. Almost had to give them a touchdown.
Right. Just walk them down there.
And nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see a team get 6 points for not actually crossing the goal line. So let's not have that happen.
So just keep it. Yeah, don't ban it. Keep it. And just these defensive coordinators got to figure out a way to stop it.
True.
Do we have to ban it completely? Can we limit it to maybe a couple times a game? Is that okay with you guys, or still no good?
I don't like it when you start putting numbers on. That's like saying, okay, we allow the shift in baseball, but only in the first and third innings. Or, I don't like it when you start put either if you're going to ban it. If you're going to let it stay, let it stay. The thing they need to do off topic for 10 seconds is the kickoff rule. I friggin' hate it. They need to go back to the old school kickoff where you kicked it from the 25-yard line. Let these guys start trying to return, but that's a whole different subject for a different day. But no, I don't like the restrictions. Either you ban it or you don't.
Well, what I've heard about banning, it's kind of hypocritical, because I believe on special teams, when you're on the defense, like when it comes to like blocking a kick or something, you're not allowed to do that. So now you're not allowed to do it on the defense, and you can't do that sort of thing on the defense.
Right. You
but
can't use
leverage. I get what you're right.
You can't use leverage. You're right. You can't jump on a defensive guy to get any leverage or get any push. You're absolutely right. They took that out of the game.
You're right.
And one
forgot about that.
Thing, just to argue the point, I actually agree. I don't want to ban it. Stop it. It's a play. It gets 3 yards. Do your best to make it get 1 yard at least. Try something. But what I will say is also, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think you guys know who he is. If you don't, he's like a physicist.
Yes.
Smart, one of the smartest Americans I think that we have, right? He said, based on the physics of the play, it's impossible to stop.
You can't stop it.
You could just keep getting 3 yards every play and just keep doing tush push all the way down the field. Is that what it's going to come to? There are hacks like that. That's what happens.
Let me ask you this question now. You know what? Just one thing brought up. I'm sorry. I know we got to go. We're running late already as it is, and I got to get my.
No, there's no Thursday night game. We're fine.
Well, I got to get to fucking bed, man. I got to work in the morning. But
Yeah.
does Jalen? Let's say they were to take that out. Let's say the NFL eliminated the tush push, right? Does Jalen Hurts' value plummet? Does it decrease that much, or is he still a top level quarterback?
Well, people don't think he's a good quarterback now.
Well, they're
So
dumb.
how much
Those
you can
people are
value?
dumb.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I don't know about plummet, but I mean, Jalen Hurts is good for that team. You know, just like we talk about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is good for that team. Kyler Murray is good for that team. I don't know if it plummets because, like I say, I don't think he's a top 10 guy right now anyway, but he's got a ring. And that's what 31 other teams can't say right now. So
That's the goal.
True, no doubt. All right, yo, a lot of fun. We went overtime, and there was still a lot more to talk about. Shit, we'll do it
There
next
is.
week. Look, that's the thing. Look, we got all off season. We have all this time. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Next week, we'll hopefully have Richard Webb on. That'll be a great thing. That'll be a lot of fun. I do
Man.
want to get into this
Excellent.
Brock Purdy thing with you guys before anything is done. Get our little predictions out there. But hey, Kenny, David, great show. A lot of fun. When we sign off, hang on, don't go anywhere. Talk to you guys for a second. But Darwin's Ravens, Simon, all you guys who came in there, really appreciate it. Showing the love.
Appreciate it.
The numbers. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel, everybody. Peace.
Go.
peace.